Today I'd like to talk to you about resolving a problem with Wyse thin clients that are basically dead. This one that I'm looking at right now was manufactured in February of 2008, so it's out of its warranty, and it is apparently bad. I didn't really know what to do about that. I wasn't familiar with these Wyse terminals, so hopefully what I've learned will help someone else. The first thing we need to do is to go to the company's website and navigate to Downloads. Under the support area, we are going to select the model. Ours is a V50LE. It's got Wyse Linux installed on it. And here on this page they have the firmware that you can use to update the thin client. The problem we're having is that Linux will not boot on ours. They're set up to be managed centrally, but we can't do the update from the FTP site that we have set up on our network because Linux won't boot. So first thing we're going to do is download the latest firmware that's available. Alright, and once we have that firmware downloaded, the next step is to go back to the download page and select Wyse Imaging Tools. We want to get the USB firmware tool and download the latest version of that, which right now is 1.16. So we download that. If you're using the Firefox web browser, these files will go into your downloads folder. They're executables. Just execute each one and they will extract files. I chose to just leave those in their default locations, so they go on the C drive. You end up with the USB firmware tool folder, and there's also well, where is it? There's a Wyse packages folder. I apologize, it was right in front of my eyes. It wasn't a Wyse packages folder, it was a WDM packages folder. WDM stands for Wyse Device Manager. So that's where our firmware image went. The next thing we need to do is start up the Wyse USB firmware tool. So we'll just go to that folder on the C drive and double click the executable. Click Next. We are going to configure a USB key to push firmware. That's the default option here. Next again, and we need to select the operating system that we're going to work with, and we're working with the Wyse Linux, so we'll select that and select update or push firmware. We're going to do OS, BIOS, and CMOS all together. Browse for the firmware package. It defaults to the WDM packages folder, so we just select the RSP file in that folder, click open and next, and I don't have my USB plugged in right now, so now it's ready to prepare the USB drive. You just select your USB drive from the list there. I don't have mine plugged in right now, so I can't do that part. And then hit next. It'll format the USB, make it bootable, and put the firmware image on the USB. At that point, you're ready to go back to your thin client. Alright, back at the thin client, we've got a keyboard and mouse, monitor and power, and Ethernet all plugged into the back, and plugged our USB drive into the front. So we power up the client, and we need to go into the BIOS, so just hit delete repeatedly until the BIOS screen comes up, and hopefully yours is still set with the default password, which is FirePort, FIREPORT, and I believe that's with a capital F. I don't know that that was case sensitive, but I did it with a capital F. We need to go to Advanced BIOS Features, and my USB shows up like a hard drive, so I'm going to hard disk boot priority, and you can see my SanDisk there, so I'll arrow down to that and then press the plus key on the keypad to move that to the first position, and then press F10 to save that setting. Are you sure you want to save? The answer is yes. Now it's going to boot from the USB. It gives you the ominous warning that something critical is happening. Please don't touch anything or you will make it a brick. It says, are you ready to push your updates? It's going to erase everything on the ROM, so we'll say yes. And this, by the way, is one that I haven't tested on prior to recording. As far as I know, this one is dead. It's been dead since, well, probably before August of 2011, but that's when somebody put a sticky note on it that said it was bad. Alright, so it's done flashing. It says press enter and remove the USB key to reboot now. So we'll press enter. Remove the USB. Now it should boot from its hard drive or ROM drive. We can just exit out of that. Default setting is to boot from LAN. You press escape and it'll move on past that. So before doing this flash, that's as far as I could get. This progress bar where Linux was loading, it would go there and that was it. I was pretty much stuck. Alright, so it shows that the version of Linux has been updated, as well as the BIOS that was updated. And it wants us to shut down now that all those changes have been made. And now we are ready to boot up. So on our network, we have DHCP options set up to point it to a FTP site to get the centralized configuration file. So this time it'll go to those settings. It should boot a little faster this time as well. And that's it. It's back up and running. So a thin client that hasn't been used in over a year is back in operation and ready to use. Like I said, I wasn't familiar with these Wyse terminals, and there was a lot of reading, a lot of Googling involved to learn all that. So I hope this video helps somebody that is in the same position I was in. Have a great day.